All right, guys, I'm Big Mike, and like always, I'd like to welcome you today, and thank you for being here. Today we have an Ask Me Anything session with Brian Murphy from CTS. He's going to start sharing his screen in just 1 second, and we're going to go right into questions. So if you guys have questions about CTS and the T4 application, then you can go ahead and start typing those now. This session is limited to 30 minutes. So we'll do our best to get everyone's questions answered. And we'll post the recording after the session's over in the thread. All right, Brian, we are seeing your screen.
Okay.
All right, so I noticed that, okay, we already have some questions about the auto spreader. So I noticed that in the Ask Me Anything thread on the site, there's a lot of people asking about the auto spreader. So that's not something that's available yet, is that right?
Yeah, just to give you an update, I just got an alpha cut from my developer last week on that, so I'm starting to play with it, and we'll then throw it into a beta state in a few weeks when the majority of those bugs are worked out, and that's usually where we have a group of people that have beta tested for us in the past, live traders. They'll jump on it, give us the necessary feedback. So if all goes well, we could definitely see the auto spreader out, here, maybe I don't know, maybe late April, early May if things go really well.
Okay. All right. And so I'm looking through the thread, and I also saw a few questions about the API, and Jeffrey's asking if you will ever expose the chart to the API.
I believe that's there now. The chart is a separate API. It works independently of our other one, but they should have full access to do that. And the only really new development we have on the API is that we are getting ready to release here probably next week or two a fixed API.
Okay.
So right now we have our proprietary .NET API, but we will have a standard fix in the very near future if that's something you want to play with, and that should work with the charts as well. Okay.
Now, that's just something that you're expecting programmers to use, or are you expecting other platforms to hook into that?
It's going to be both, actually. We got pushed for the fix from some bigger banks and institutions that did not want to use a proprietary API. They wanted it to be a standard fix. So we've done it for that reason, but we also have existing customers that have had a fix in the past that they've written their own application to, or a third party that they want to then hook up the CTS. So we should be getting from a couple different angles.
Okay. So like NinjaTrader, for example, how do you guys work with that right now, or do you?
We actually don't. I've actually personally reached out to Ninja on several occasions in the past. I've even had customers reach out as well. It seems to me, that is how they would connect. We would look for Ninja to write to our .NET API or to the Fix API. But apparently, I would say in their near-term business model, they were not looking to add anyone else. When people call and ask about it, unfortunately our hands are kind of tied. We need them to take that first step and write to us in order to be able to get it.
So even though they've already got, like, for example, the Trading Technologies Fix adapter, they're not willing to make whatever small changes to bring on CTS.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. In the past, when we reached out to them, we've even had people that have approached us and said, hey, I got a bunch of customers I'd like to, put on it. And so whether it's, their resources are available or whatever it may be, they just haven't been able to make that next step and commit to writing to us.
Okay. All right. Let's see what other questions we have right now. Jeffrey is asking about market replay. Do you have anything similar to
that? We really don't. The only thing close we have is we do have delayed data in the simulator. I believe we have a 1 day, a 12-hour, and a 30-minute. I don't have any canned data that you could just plug in and play at a given time.
Right.
It's all going to be those separate time frames that I mentioned.
Okay. Can you pull up a DOM for us?
Sure.
Jeffrey is also asking, he says he's with Top Step Trader and he would like to have market replay. So pretty much you're just limited to the sim timeframes that you just talked about, or the delayed
Correct.
timeframes.
Right, and he can, either today or in an email to us, elaborate on what he's trying to use it for, and maybe our guys, through the API can have some suggestions of what he might be able to do. So I don't know exactly what he's trying to do with it. So from a true, replay standpoint, no. Can data, no. But the sim is a fantastic tool for looking back and at prior days and watching the flow if you're testing against it.
Great. Now, other than the auto spreader, is there anything else you can tell us about this next build?
The biggest thing, in fact, we just released it in beta this weekend, is our options. And I know when I was on last time, I briefly touched on some of the things, but the options that we released this weekend in beta are going to be what I call your standard option sheets. All your Greeks, all your volatilities.
Right.
You'll be able to click on, I don't know how many option traders you have out there. If the guys are used to, in the old days, you stand a pit and you would have a handful of sheets in front of you with your different months and your different strikes. So all that's electronic now.
Okay.
Cool things about it, you trade right off that. Click to put a spread together. Click to do a vertical call spread. You click on both boxes. It puts the delta and all the Greeks there for you, and then you can click a button to actually make that trade.
Okay.
So that's phase one that we released this weekend. We have about a dozen professional traders here in Chicago that are going to use it live for us in the trading pit for the next few weeks, work out the kinks there, and we really hope to put that out in the live version in the 1st of April.
Okay. Maybe that's something that you could maybe post a couple of screenshots whenever you have a chance in the Ask Me Anything thread. That'd be cool to take a look at, get a sneak peek. Okay, so you think that's going to come out at the same time as the auto spreader? It's the same build.
Well, yeah. Well, no, options are definitely going to be first because that's already out in beta.
Okay.
The auto spreader is still only in the alpha stage, so I'm a little further away on that one. But I probably have screenshots of both, so I'm going to just make myself a note to do that for the options and the auto spreader.
So I know that a lot of people are interested in the auto spreader, and I think that you had mentioned that the initial release is client side. Is that correct?
That's a good point, yes. We will eventually go to a server-side method on that as well, but yes, the first release for the auto spreader will definitely be a client-side application.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have other questions? I want to make sure I'm not skipping anybody. So I saw some people in the Ask Me Anything thread that were talking about trying to get some new buttons or new functionality added. So you had indicated that you were open to that idea. Is that something that is easy to do? Is it something that a customer can do through the API, or does it have to be a new build?
Well, it probably depends on what changes. So give me an idea of what.
I think Josh, for example, if I remember correctly, I'm trying to find the post, but he was asking for a way to flatten orders or cancel all orders, cancel all pending orders, and etc.
Okay, so those exist today. So basically, if I pull up my order book, that I can. So if I have a cancel all button here on my order book, the black X with the red circle, and you notice I also have the same thing on the contract ladder. So basically the way the contract works is I'm just looking at March 10 years right now. So if I click that button, I'm only canceling my March 10 years. Down here in the order book, it's different. If I'm looking at my working page, I'm going to be able to, so if I'm looking at this and I click that, I'm going to cancel everything in that page, not just my 10 years.
Right. He was saying he was looking for it to not just pull open orders, but also close current positions.
Oh, okay, like a combination of flatten.
It's like an emergency, shut everything down button.
Right. I want to say we added. Okay, so let me do that again so you see what I did. I went to my main properties button here and I clicked it, and then I'm going to go to my second tab here called contract. And we added this new feature right here called pull on flatten. And so what that does, if I enable that, and then when I go do my flatten button, which I can add back, I don't have mine on there, 1 second. So this little symbol here is my flatten button.
Okay.
So as I then give myself a position, I'll sell a tenure there, and I'll have some working orders. So then if I do a flatten,
okay,
see how that actually flattened me and
right. So it'll pull,
cancel my existing
right.
orders.
It'll pull and cancel. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's going to pull. So that is fairly new. But again, if you go to your main properties contract window, just have that enabled, pull on flatten.
All right. Steve is asking, he says one thing is he'd like to see time and sales window that shows per trade, not total volume, while allowing a total or aggregate volume in the contract window.
So time and sales to us is what I call this market history. So if he's talking about this window, which I'm assuming he is, you control this window the same way you can control the middle spot here, which is, this is basically telling you, 24 is traded 6 times. In my main properties, again, under contract, I have the choice of volume is either total trade or last trade. So you can manipulate that in here if that's what he's talking about.
Yep, I think that it is. Well, he's asking, he says it would be good if they were independent.
Meaning have one history window of total and one of last trade, you mean?
Yeah, I think that's what he means, yes.
Okay. Yeah, tell him I can put that down, because I think if we change, I don't have the ability to change that setting here. It's a global setting. So maybe if they were to add something to this window here for that option, then it would be the independent one. So I'll make a note of that.
Okay, great. Okay, so how many, would you say that a lot of people are looking forward to the options side of things, or is that relatively new for you guys?
Options are new to us, but being that we're based here in Chicago and we still have a lot of activity on the trading floor here in Chicago, it's mostly options. We have really, in the last 6 months, getting inundated with phone calls to have more option functionality. Right now, if you look on it, we just basically you can trade them, like you do anything else, put up a market and trade. So we're really taking a giant leap forward and having these sheets developed, because now we're going to appeal to that professional type trader, and even more of the casual person who sit at home. If you're ever thinking about putting an option strategy on, you need to know what those Greeks are, and the fact that you can have a sheet in front of you that's calculating real time data, volatility, etc. You're going to be in a much better position to manage that option strategy than you are now, where you just see bids and offers. So it's going to be quite a big push for us just because of our clientele, but I think as other people get into it and will be able to play with it more, I think the average person is going to see a huge benefit as well.
And is this something that everybody will receive the upgraded build, or is there going to be an additional cost for any of these services?
Yeah, the options will be a $500 flat fee. And the auto spreader, quite honestly, we have not determined that pricing yet. It probably won't be close to that. We may pile it on to what's called our advanced option platform now, which is a minimum of $200.
Okay.
So if you trade foreign contracts, you're paying for it anyway. But we haven't really determined that yet, because we haven't got enough to play with it to see what type of audience is going to appeal to being the client side right out of the box.
Right. Would you, when you're weighing the demand coming from customers, like for example asking for the enhanced options, how would you compare it to the number of people asking for the auto spreader?
I would say auto spreader was the most dominant request the last couple of years. Options have just been really in the last 6 months that they come forward and said, hey, you guys, your platform's great, it does everything I want to do, but if you had more advanced option functionality, you're just going to appeal to a wider range of people. And what we see out in the marketplace is, so when I say our option would be $500, our nearest competitor seems to offer more in the $1,500 to $2,000 range. So I think we're going to be able to put a product out on the street that not only will be useful and advantageous for people, but at a price point where it might actually attract even the average option guy that doesn't want to go out and spend $2,000 a month, but he will definitely spend $500 a month to get all the features he can see.
Right. Okay. One of the things I saw in the thread was somebody asking how to format the price. So, like for example, on the ES, in order to include the decimal. Is that something that you could show us how to do, or is that possible?
Yeah, no, it's not. We've never done that. The way the price feed is displayed to you, so that person asked for an ES, and it wouldn't really matter what you looked at, whether it be grains or financials or what have you. Everything that we display, we bring in directly from how the CME hands it to us.
Right.
And that's what we've done since day one. We hear that every now and then because people are used to seeing decimals,
Right.
on a chart or,
Yeah.
Through other, informational pieces. But we've always just taken whatever they give us and have displayed it that way, because the same would be true for when you start looking at a spread. That's how they quote the S&P spread. So it's just something we've always done, taken exactly what they've handed us, and I find it runs smoother because I'm not trying to overlay more code on top of what they're handing me. I can just do an easy handoff. But
right. I think you can get used to it after you look at it for a little while.
Right.
All right. James asking, is it possible or is it likely to be added in order to split the profit targets? For example, if he buys 3 contracts, then sells one at 4 points, next one at 8 points, he'd like to be able to place 3 separate orders and change the limit price. So I guess he's saying, once the orders are in, can he split them up so he can move the targets around individually? I think that's what he's asking.
Right. So in our system, if you use this auto OCO button, which basically tells me that if I, sell one here, that it will put my limit, my stop in. So if I make myself get filled there, and you see my 2 orders go in. Now I can drag and drop these and change them all day. That doesn't matter. So that's what he's asking. What people have asked us to do.
Yeah. What if the quantity was more than 1?
Exactly. That's what we're working on. Right now, if James told me he was a 3-lot trader, he'd have to do that 3 times. And then there'd be 3 individual 1 lots there, which he couldn't manipulate. What we're going to do is have a more advanced auto OCO functionality that allows you to put the 3-lot in there, but then determine different levels for each one. So that's something I'll have to get an ETA for him on that, because I have not heard that come down the pipe yet, but that is something we're very aware of and are working on.
Okay. Steve's asking if we could get a estimated position in queue column in the contract window.
Yeah, we have been asked for that. The only thing that stopped us from doing it is that data is not being disseminated from the exchanges.
Right.
Other firms that have done it, I know they make it up, and people say, oh, but it's very accurate. It's really helpful to see that, wherever I am in place in line. And I'm not doubting that ability. We've just had a hard time coming to grips with putting data out there that's not real. Because it is a total guess on our part to do that, and not saying we couldn't do it, but to be quite honest with you, that's our big reason for the hesitation was, putting something out there that's a guess and not accurate.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So, anything else coming in this next build other than the options?
Oh, let's see. Nothing big off the top of my head. I mean, we're always doing little fixes, little enhancements, like you saw the pull and flatten button.
Right.
That came out rather recently, but nothing real major. Little tweaks like that of taking an existing functionality and maybe making it a little bit better. But really, our pipeline for what I would consider to be, substantial projects is, options now, and then the auto spreader.
Right. And what was the ETA on the Fix API?
That's actually just, I would say, by the end of the month. I think we're just finishing up documentation on that and doing some testing, but it has been written.
Okay. So you got a lot of things.
Yeah,
a lot of things in the queue right now.
That's true. Yeah, the fix, the options are technically out now, but just in our small beta group.
Right.
The fix should be there by the end of the month, and as I said, depending on how that goes with the options, Like I said, we'd love to go live sometime around the 1st of April. If that gets delayed a week or two to fix something, then it could happen.
Okay.
And then it allows us to kind of put our focus back on the auto spreader, try to get that thing out the door sooner than later as well.
Okay. All right, man. Well, I don't see any other questions. I think we got everybody's questions answered. So I want to thank you, Brian, for coming in today and talking with us, and also for answering people's questions on the thread. And I think that we have, let me look here, make sure I'm not making this up. Do we have a full-blown webinar scheduled with you guys yet? Let's see. I know you and I were talking about one. I guess we don't have one on the books just yet. So we're probably waiting for some of those new features.
Yeah, I think you were throwing some dates, maybe like a late April type of thing.
Okay. So we'll get that. I don't think it's scheduled, so we'll get that scheduled probably in the next couple weeks, and maybe you can show us more of the option stuff.
Absolutely, and tell them I will try to get some screenshots up online just to give them an idea of what it looked like.
All right, man. Thanks, Brian. Have a good one.
No problem. Thanks, everyone, for your time. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.